Hi, this is Mrs. P coming at you with another 10 and 10. Today's lesson is Unit 10, Lesson 9, New Ways of Life. These notes come from textbook pages 146 to 152, and your student guide follows this lesson on page 142 and 143. Note 1 starts off with the idea of these Levittown. Couples had put off having children during the war years. It wasn't something they did purposefully. It was because the soldiers were away fighting. So when the soldiers got home, they got this free college. The GI Bill of Rights allowed them so many years of free tuition. And by the 1950s, most of these veterans had gone to school, they had graduated, they were married, and now they were having children. Their jobs were better than their fathers had ever had. And because they had this income, the American dream was a house of your own. But there was this housing shortage because so many people were in demand of housing. So this man named William Levitt, he has an idea. Now he's worked in the Navy and he was in charge of building airfields quickly. And he knows that as veterans are coming home, like himself, they're going to be looking for homes. So he kind of used Henry Ford's assembly line idea to create a series of steps to build a house instead of just one person building a house. Now, prior to the war, one builder would build a house and they might get 3 or 5 houses built in a year. And because William Levitt turns this into an assembly line where one person puts up the walls, one person does the electricity, he takes production from 5 houses a year to 36 houses a day. He owns his own lumber, his own nails, his own timberland, so it allows him to keep his home prices very low, which is a very attractive offer for the veterans that are coming out of college and are raising their children. Obviously, William Levitt is very popular, so soon other builders begin to copy him. This idea of suburbia is born, the suburbs, not in the city, the idea of these neighborhoods and the houses that are next to each other. Tracts of land are purchased and houses are put up right next to each other. If any of you live in neighborhoods, those neighborhoods were built because of William Levitt's ideas. In these suburbs, there's a problem. There's no mass transportation. So now we need cars. A car for Dad to drive back and forth to work, or sometimes 2 cars, although it was rare, becomes necessary. So Detroit responds by making these pretty fancy cars. They're sold on the idea that styling changes are important, not necessarily the engineering or how they're run. And last year's cars are sorely out of fashion, so you certainly have to upgrade each year. And people buy it. And they buy cars. This is where you get the years with the fins and the shiny colors and all of those. When you have the Woodward Dream Cruise and you see all of those cars going up and down Woodward, they're all coming from this idea of these big fancy cars, the 1950s to the 1970s. And of course, most Americans believe fancier is better. Their income is better, so they don't really have a problem paying for their homes or their fancy cars. They have contracts to work and they're given a share of their profits too. And we have this change from coal to oil. And oil is much cheaper than coal, so Americans don't even care about how much gas they're guzzling, because that's even cheaper. So then the textbook switches, and it starts talking about this gentleman, Kemmons Wilson. He owns one of these fancy cars. He decides he's going to go on vacation with his family. And when they get to where they're going, they stop at the motels, and all of the motels are falling apart. And even if the kids bring sleeping bags and they sleep on the floor, the hotels are charging for each child. And he says there's got to be a better way. Now that the cars are taking over the road and people are driving places and they're taking road trips, families need a place to stay on vacation that doesn't charge for their children. And so he develops the Holiday Inn, where you can go to any Holiday Inn and you know what to expect. It's always going to be the same. He places them along highways everywhere, and when I come to my professional development days in Grand Rapids, I stay at a Holiday Inn because I know what to expect. And even today, children can still stay at a Holiday Inn for free. Now, despite all this fancy is better and fancy cars and big houses, people still don't go out to eat. Moms are expected to stay home and cook meals. Going out to eat is still really expensive, especially when you have all the kids. So moms stay home and they cook meals. And even when people are working, they're still not going out to eat for lunch. But there's 2 brothers, Mac and Dick McDonald, and they want to change the fact that people don't go out to lunch either. So they make this restaurant which has really cheap hamburgers, and pretty soon the lines are too long. They don't know how to rein the lines in. And they had these waiters. Now people would pull in with their cars, and the waiters would go from car to car to car. And They're called car hops because they're hopping from car to car. They got real creative with the name there. And so they decide to get rid of the car hops, get rid of these waiters. You have to order at the counter. They're going to limit their menu. There's only so many items. And then rather than give you the hamburger and let you go add what you want on it, they're just going to add the ketchup, mustard, and pickles to your hamburger for you. And, it cuts down on the time. People are still lined up to get these hamburgers at California. And it interests this gentleman named Ray Kroc. He's a milkshake machine maker, not a milkshake maker, a milkshake machine maker. And he notices that McDonald's is buying a lot of milkshake machines. And he's interested in why McDonald's is doing so well. And, the McDonald brothers, they're not real interested in opening up a bunch of restaurants because they can hardly handle the restaurant they have and they're making a lot of money. So they offer Ray to handle franchising. Franchising means people purchase the McDonald name and open up a restaurant with certain specifications that the McDonald brothers set forward, and they own the restaurant and they get all the profit, and the McDonald brothers don't have to do anything about it and don't have to participate. But the people who own the restaurant, they get more people coming to their restaurant because it's a McDonald restaurant. And there's certain things, now all McDonald's look alike and they all have the same menu. And those are rules that go along with if you buy a McDonald's franchise. So Ray Kroc agrees to handle all the franchising and he buys the McDonald name. So now he can go out and he can sell, hey, do you want to buy a McDonald restaurant? Here's what it has to look like, but you're going to make a lot of money. And so he starts selling these McDonald restaurants. Soon he's opening one McDonald's restaurant after another. They're everywhere. Even now, they're like one every 2 miles or one every mile. I live in a little town and I think we have 3 of them. And his idea was that he wanted hamburgers in California to be exactly the same as hamburgers in Michigan. If you went to a McDonald's, you should know what you're going to order and exactly what it's going to taste like. And he had pretty harsh employee rules for his employees. He wanted a very high standard. They could not chew gum. They could not have beards. They could not have mustaches. No long fingernails. Their fingernails had to be clean. And he wouldn't hire women. He said they would flirt with the customers. Whatever. So Ray Kroc was pretty harsh, but he expanded the McDonald's restaurants, and now they're everywhere. Those are your 10 notes in 10 minutes or less. It took about 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Those were from pages 146 to 152. So again, go try your lesson assessment. If you don't pass, make sure you read pages 146 to 152, highlight, take your Cornell notes. If you don't know what Cornell notes are, go ahead and send me a K-mail, and I have some tutorials. I have PDF you can print off. You can handwrite your notes, or I have a Word document I can send you. You can actually type your notes right into the Word document and save it on your computer, and then try the assessment again. If you don't pass again, try your reading guide. There's a reading guide on page 145 and 146 in your student guide. Try that, and then put your textbook and your reading guide right next to you, and go ahead and use those as you take your lesson assessment. And after 3, if you still need me to unlock an assessment, go ahead and send me a K-mail and I can help you. Have a great day, and we will meet again tomorrow. Bye-bye.